When will this become a real, not, it's real now, but you know, they have a garden on the other side over there at the school. How long will it take to get to that point?
Yeah, it's going to take, and National Wildlife Federation talks about this, it takes 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
And it also depends on the size plants you put in.
Okay.
So a lot of the plants we put in, their roots were only like this. And because it was really sandy soils and mulch, it wasn't high organic content, so they didn't grow as fast, but they're still holding on. So I think, especially with the rains in the fall, it's going to give them a boost, warm temperatures, and we should really see them bolt up next summer. Yeah, I think you'll be surprised. Taking action on climate change is really a moral issue, it's a spiritual issue. We know that as temperatures heat up, it impacts not just us, but the Horn of Africa, there's floods that are occurring. And so in my environmental studies, and then also in my spiritual work, that's one of the top issues.
The Grand River is the longest river in Michigan, but the lower Grand really starts in Portland, Michigan, and it's about 3,000 square miles, so it's a really large watershed. 50% of it is agricultural land. You know, the ecology here and the climate here, because of the Great Lakes, is a really interesting and complicated issue a lot of times. There's just a lot that we can do to help protect the watershed.
This is Rudbeckia fulgida, and it's got some really great root systems already going. Hopefully we'll get these planted, you know, in the next little bit. You can see they put all their energy into their roots first, and those root systems are what help filter water and help the plants to survive the hot summers and cold winters. So whatever happens upstream affects downstream. In our watershed, that's urban, agricultural, and then some industrial, like big industrial areas are upstream. As it goes downstream, there's more and more people, and there's also more and more pollution is concentrated in our downstream. And yes, that all gets eventually shipped down to Grand Haven and the Great Lakes. So our goal, I mean, if you were to sum it up really quick, it would be slow it down and soak it up. We want to offer opportunities for the water to soak into the ground before it reaches Plaster Creek. That's kind of the stormwater goal. So in February, we start putting out the seeds. And like I said, it's about 400 different varieties of native grasses, sedges, and forbs, and trees and shrubs. And they grow in here all summer, and we have volunteers that transplant them spring through summer through fall. And our goal is usually up here, we usually are going for, this year it's 120 flats a week, and I think the volunteer group this morning did 106. So yeah, that was really, really helpful. But our bigger goal, we recognize that even if we were to zap the creek and clean it up, if we didn't do anything about the watershed and the land use, the next time it rained, the creek would just be dirty again. So we see our bigger goal as connecting the community with the creek, building relationships, offering opportunities for the people that live and work and worship in the watershed to take action and to build a relationship with their watershed and with their creek, so that they care about the creek and they are doing meaningful things to slow the water down, soak it up, make those connections that make a difference.
So this is a neighbor that we've worked with. This is in the Creston Neighborhood Association, and she again called Elgro to get a site assessment, but heard about it through one of her neighbors, and so the word has spread around about doing site assessments. And this is what her lawn looked like previously. It was very difficult with this steep slope and just turf grass, and she really wanted to do something more with her property.
I think this is a great example of what a more manicured native landscape can look like. Her planting plan included sedges and then a lot of other flowering plants. We have some coneflowers, some butterfly bush in here that in the next few seasons is really going to mature, and we'll get lots of color in this garden, which is great. I've always been passionate about the environment, and when we're talking about water, we live in a Great Lakes state and we're surrounded by water, and it's really important that we keep that water clean because we like to fish and swim and paddle and play in that water. And so representing and trying to protect the Grand River watershed, all of the water that's in the Grand River eventually ends up in Lake Michigan, which is where a lot of our local communities get our drinking water from. So it's really important that we protect the water here on our properties because we're just improving water quality downstream that could impact us later.
But if we don't do something now, we're not going to leave anything for the next generations. It never dawned on me, right, that if we put in a garden, we start a garden, that we're going to create an environment for bees, for butterflies, for other animals.
Just a postage stamp sized lot, but I've never seen so many bees and monarch butterflies until this past week. So that's inspiring, and it inspires other walkers by in the neighborhood.
Not only are you trying to preserve some biodiversity in your garden, but you're also using this as a refuge for your own soul so that you can actually restore some of your own hope and say, you know, if these plants can thrive, then by golly, there's still some hope in the world.
I love it. It's just working with the plants, seeing them grow. When I came out this spring, I expected that little struggle still happening, and they're popping out all over, and they're just incredible blooming, and it's just, I'm so proud of them.
It's an honor to be part of the program. We're very happy to be part of Sacred Counts.
So one big challenge we have when we try to do native landscaping here in an urban place is there's some pretty serious urban weeds that we have to deal with. So these are weeds, these are species that have been hit hard by lots of chemicals, the soils are lousy, and yet they've been able to thrive. So there's selection for some really robust genotypes. And so yeah, I mean, we've had to do a lot of weeding on this bank, but what we're finding is this has been in for 2 years now, and as the native plants become more established and they expand, the weeding that we have to do every year is much less. This plant right here that's on the front, and it's making these really interesting seed pods right now, this is butterfly weed, Asclepias tuberosa, and that's orange when it flowers, so this whole patch here was bright orange. And the reason why we have fruit now is because those flowers were pollinated, most likely by butterflies. And so it's a good sign that we have so many fruits here on this patch of butterfly weed. Behind me is a steep bank, and this is part of the old city dump for the city of Grand Rapids. And so people would dump their trash at the top of this hill, and it would get pushed down these troughs into a big pit here, and the pit was covered then. So what we're doing is we're trying to coax some beauty out of what was formerly literally a dump for the city of Grand Rapids. But when we put the right plants in, the insects and the birds, they show up. It's really almost magical. More recently, I would say probably about a decade ago, we recognized how few green spaces there were around here and how air quality in the city is much lower than other places. And so then we added environmental justice to our focus. And with the environmental justice focus came a lot of native plants to try to create beautiful green spaces. So that's been such an important part of this whole effort, is connecting our grounds with the things that we say as a community of faith that are important. You know, without any one of the partners, I don't think this garden would have happened.
I think that the human connection that you have in this experience is like, it's just really organic, and it's bringing people together in such a way that is just unique. Through, you know, projects like this, hopefully our kids can see that it's actually really possible to make a difference. It's not outside of our means of like doing something small, like planting a small native plant can really help feed our pollinators and make a difference in our ecosystem.